Welcome back to the Mental Playbook podcast. I'm here with Karse Klijian, founder and CEO of Klijian Sports Management and undergrad student at UCSD. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really curious to know how undergrad college is like, what you're studying, and then what first got you into sports.
Yeah, so I'm at UCSD right now. Wasn't always at UCSD, started at UC Riverside, was studying media there. And then recently transferred over to UCSD because I'm from San Diego, wanted to stay local. And it's great. Like I just said, I'm from San Diego, so getting to study in the place where I'm from is the best. The sport scene isn't really the best at UCSD, nor was it the best at UC Riverside. But being so close to cities like LA and even Las Vegas, I've been able to travel all around during my undergrad studies to different games and venues. So I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then what are you studying?
I'm a communications major right now at UCSD.
Cool. So what led you to create and kind of develop Klijian Sports Management?
Well, in 2023, so that was my senior year of high school. Um, my competitive soccer team that I was playing for, San Diego Surf, had just won the ECNL, so that's the national championship, and most of the players on the team were going to play college soccer. I myself had a few offers from a couple places, but not really places I wanted to go. So I didn't go down the collegiate soccer route. But what I noticed with these players is that so many of them lacked the awareness that they needed, lacked the knowledge needed to go further. And some of my teammates who I knew could have made it to better teams had to, stick with maybe D2 or D3 teams because they didn't know that they could push further and get to better offers for themselves. So that led me to understand that just so many athletes, and not just college athletes, high school trying to go college, college trying to go pro, and even professional athletes don't have the knowledge and the insight that goes in behind the scenes of the sports world. So now that I wasn't playing soccer anymore, now that I wasn't playing competitively, I wanted to still be involved in the sports world, and I started up Collegian Sports Management. And it started with just a couple of the athletes I worked with. Originally, I started with one player who's now playing in Monterey Bay FC, which is a professional soccer team near San Francisco, and a player he was my roommate at UC Riverside, and we're looking for him to get drafted next year in the MLS. So I wanted to be able to bring awareness to these athletes that really didn't have representation at all, even if it's not legal. Like on the legal sides, of course, there are agents out there, but that's a whole different subject, and you need to have a lot of money to be involved in that sort of thing. So I wanted to just do it out of wanting to be involved again. And yeah, it's great for me. It's great for the athletes.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So who would you say is the target audience? Is it specific sport or age group?
Yeah, well, I kind of set myself to I'm not going to work with anyone below freshman year of high school. I think that's very reasonable. If you're, there are some prodigies out there in middle school and whatnot, but I don't even want to, go into that realm. I'll let them deal with their parents and whatnot for placing them into the right high school and then the right college. So yeah, I'm starting with, I guess, freshmen in high school. Just sometimes I go out to venues and high school games and look at who I think might be, the next it player, the next guy, the next girl. Regarding sports, I've been so involved in sports throughout my entire life. I've played competitive soccer, so that's what I'm really experienced at, and I have a lot of expertise in that. But throughout my life, I've been a fan of San Diego Padres. My dad's from New York, so I'm a big New York Rangers guy. And hockey. I've watched football when the Chargers were down here. So yeah, I love all sports, and I'm willing to work with any athletes. That being said, I've really just been working with soccer athletes right now because I have the most knowledge in that.
Right, and that makes sense. So how does your vision for Collegian Sports Management evolve from this initial idea to what it is today?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm hoping next year is law school for me. So that's a big step for this as well. Um I'm hoping to co-jointly get my agent license for California during law school, if sometime either junior or senior year, or my final year of law school, I should say. And so I will have the financial backings, I'll have the legal backings to turn what is a management firm into an agency. And that is really the next big step. But that does require a lot of legal binds, legal ties, legal knowledge, which I don't possess yet. So yeah, and also it's like here in California, it's like $10,000 to get your agency license. So obviously there are a whole lot of steps needed to take it to the next level. But yeah, I would say bringing it from a management and guidance firm into a fully licensed agency is the next step.
Yeah, that's really cool. As you are growing, your firm is also growing with you.
Yeah.
Um, so what does it mean to guide athletes through every stage of their careers?
It's it's really special because when I was playing, I didn't realize how much goes on in the life of these athletes. You know, and not yeah, I didn't even realize it in myself. But when you're guiding them and when you're looking at their style of play and their progression through the ranks, you get to see so much more about them personally and about them on the field. I've gotten closer to some of the athletes that I didn't think I would be able to because I'm able to work with them outside of playing with them. It's you gain a better appreciation, I would say for sure, for who they are as an athlete. Um, Most of the guys I'm working with right now have a very good shot um, of playing in the MLS either next year or the year after, partly because they did come from the best clubs, the best teams in the nation when they were leaving high school. But it's yeah, it's really unique, I would say, because you don't get to see the ins and outs of these guys' lives and these girls' lives when you're not doing something like this.
Right. Even for fans too, they only see what's on the front versus the back and the story and the journey. So what's been the challenge, the biggest challenge for you so far in building this firm while still in college studying?
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's the fact that I'm still in college and still studying. On top of that, I'm graduating a year early. I was supposed to be graduating next year, but I'm trying to push myself to graduate this year. So really loading up on classes and yeah, I have a part-time gig as well to help with cash flow and whatnot. So I have a lot in my life right now. So it's not like I can fully devote myself to these athletes, which I would love to and want to. I just can't humanly do that right now. So it's pretty challenging having to separate that from my studies and everything else. And I have a huge family as well. So I nothing comes before family. So I got to spend time with my family first and foremost. So yeah, it's just managing my time so I can do this. It's been a bit of a struggle, bit of a challenge, but at the same time, I wouldn't swap it for anything in the world. I love what I'm doing, and yeah, it's a great opportunity for me.
Yeah. And then do you feel added pressure starting something young, especially in this really competitive field? And how do you manage that pressure?
Yeah, there's a pressure for sure. I was very lucky to have these ties already with these great athletes, and that's kind of what helped me launch this. If I didn't already know these athletes, it would have been so much more challenging to just blindly go in and just ask other athletes if they wanted my help. But I had ties already to these athletes, so that kind of erased some of the pressure that was there. But like you said, it's a very competitive field. Few make it as far as I want to go. So we'll see as the journey progresses. But yeah, it's all part of the journey. I don't care how much pressure comes. I don't care how much struggle there is. If it works, it works, and that's what I'm hoping. If not, I could fully say that I gave it my best shot, and I believe that the athletes that I'm working with right now will say the same thing and say that at least in some small way that I helped them throughout their process.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you're bringing in new athletes, how do you earn that trust and credibility when you're still early on in your own professional journey?
Yeah, the biggest way that I've seen others and myself earn trust and credibility is already having some proof, already having some backing. So, like I said, I started this management firm with some athletes that I already knew. So they didn't require as much proof that I could help them because I knew them personally, they knew me, and we're friends. But now that I've already set it up and I'm getting more people who I didn't previously know, they're looking at my website and at even the LinkedIn pages and social media and seeing, well, what can this guy, what can his firm provide me? And it's basically just it's in its raw format. It's advertising. It's something that I wish I had when I was a high school athlete is someone willing to work and put in the work for me, and just get my name out there. Because branding is getting so big in this world of sports that it's not enough to just have the talent. It's not enough to just be the guy on the field or the girl on the court. You have to have the personality outside of it, and you have to showcase that. You have to have the likability. And that's where these sort of firms, not just mine, but all these there's a whole bunch of firms out there that's where they come in. That's the big part of it is making sure others know that outside of the game itself, you're someone that can be trusted, you're someone that can be liked. And yeah, it's a world that's full of opportunity, I would say for sure. And just gaining the trust of the athletes isn't really the hard part. I would say the hard part is actually, walking talking the talk and walking the walk. It's you can gain their trust, but if you just sit on that, you're like, okay, I want to work with you, and then for 3 months you don't do anything for them.
Right.
That's even worse than not gaining their trust in the first place.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as long as you have the awareness and the ability to back up what you're saying you can do, it really is an open field.
Yeah. And you brought up branding, which is such a hot topic today with NIL and all of that. So why is athlete branding such an important part of career planning today?
Well, it's important in a lot of different aspects. I'm gonna start off with for college athletes, it's important because it's a whole world of opportunity for college athletes that they don't real most of them don't even know is there for them. These college athletes in particular can be earning a large sum of money from NIL, but they don't really know it's there, so they don't take advantage of it. So for them in particular, it's really just getting what you deserve in that sense. But for even high school athletes, um, it's getting college scouts and college coaches to recognize you because they'll see you on the field and they'll see you play, and they'll say, "Oh, wow, that guy's pretty good," but then they'll forget about you. That's just the harsh truth of it all. So if you don't have the savvy backing behind it. And that's why you see so many athletes nowadays creating social media pages, and just like trying to create reels and whatnot. They're not trying to become famous. They're just trying to put it out there that they are a person outside of the field. So you have to have that. And even for professionals nowadays, you see them doing things on social media. They don't need the money from social media. They're trying to get the likability from the fans. And like I said, it's not about money for them. It's about making fans, making people aware that they are a person to support. And that's all in it, like all goes back to branding and showcasing who you are outside of the game itself.
Yeah, that's great insight. So how has leadership shown up for you as a founder and CEO of Klijian Sports Management?
Well, I've always considered myself a leader. I don't know if people would beg to differ, but I was captain of my varsity soccer team for my last 2 years of high school, and then I co-captained the ECNL championship team in 2023. So leadership's been one of the skills that I've claimed to have. And I don't just go around trying to flash it like that because nobody really is a true leader. If they say I am a leader, follow me. You have to lead by example. And it's also something that I'm learning, day by day. It's you gain people's trust and respect. Um, by being a silent leader. There's a lot of different types of leaders in the world. When I played soccer, I had to be a vocal leader. That's just who I was. I was a goalkeeper, so on top of everything, I had to scream my head off at these players. But now I try not to do stuff like that. I try to earn their respect and lead by example, by doing the silent work behind the scenes.
Yeah, and as a leader, when you face adversity or pressure, what is your mental playbook that keeps you going?
My mental playbook that keeps me going is the knowledge that there's always going to be a reward at the end of the road. So yeah, you've probably dealt with struggles throughout your life. I've dealt with struggles throughout my life. Everybody listening to this has had their own individual struggles. But the fact of the matter is, you can get out of those struggles, and there's always something better waiting for you after those struggles. So it's no different in this world of sports and sports management. When you hit a roadblock and when you hit struggles and these things that you don't think you can overcome, you have to realize that there is a reward so much greater than the challenges of facing these struggles at the end and after, not just for myself, but for the people that I'm working with as well. And in a sense, that's even more rewarding to me is the knowledge that I help these people, as minuscule as it might be, I help them reach some form of joy or achievement.
Yeah. And has there been any challenges for you concerning like self-doubt or comparison, and how do you overcome those struggles?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say self-doubt. I would say the biggest challenge in this so far for me is the fact that a lot of what I do is cold call businesses to try to get them in connections with my athletes. And it's just cold calling is something that is just so on or off. It's you pick up the phone, you call someone. If I were on the receiving end of a phone call, I'd probably do what most of the people do and just hang up. You don't want to have to deal with that. And once you deal with, 99 out of 100 calls hanging up in your face, it gets to you. You don't want to do it anymore. So that's a pretty big, challenge, I would say, is just the fact that I know I need to keep going, right? Because I made a promise to these athletes that I'm going to help them. I'm going to get them in connections with these brands and these businesses. So that's been one of the biggest reality checks I've said that I've had to deal with. But on the same token, there is always that one. There's 99 will deny you, but one business, one brand, that's all you need to get in connection with these athletes. And when that happens, it's kind of relates back to the other question. It's a bigger reward than the challenges that you face.
Yeah. What lessons from sports have most influenced how you lead and make decisions with your firm or just in life in general?
It's a good question. Um, well, I've come to realize that sports is such an unpredictable world. You have no idea what's gonna happen. As a fan, you have no idea what's gonna happen. I mean, look at the Chicago Bears this year. They were garbage last year. Now they're really good this year. So for the Chicago Bears fans, I'm sure they're very happy. Again, it's no different in the behinds of the sports world. I have no idea what's gonna come my way each and every day when I'm dealing with new athletes and businesses and brands. And it's a journey. It's something that I've had to adapt to for sure. Um, but it's taught me that you have to be able to adapt in every situation. As a person, I've adapted. I think I wasn't always, a want to get on a podcast type of guy. I'd usually just want to stay at home and do the things by myself. But I've come to realize that if you want to have success, really in any field, not just in this field, but you have to be able to adapt, and that's one of the lessons that sports in general has taught me.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And now you're here.
Yeah.
What mistakes do you see young athletes commonly make when thinking about their future?
There's two mistakes that I've seen a lot actually as of recent. It's either they think they're better than they are, or they don't value themselves enough. And there's really no in between for like the good ones. You see it so often. It is unfortunately the parents of these athletes don't, give them a reality check and don't, kind of put them in their place of where they are. And they start thinking that they're the next LeBron, they're the next Ronaldo, which is, that's a good mentality to have. but they start thinking that they don't have to work hard enough and their talent will take them all the way. And that's a huge mistake that the younger athletes are making nowadays. And then on the same token, on the other hand, though, is athletes, they undervalue themselves and they think, well, yeah, I'm good on the field, but I don't think I'll be able to make it, so I just won't give it a shot. And that, in a way, is even worse than overvaluing yourself, is because you're not even giving yourself a chance. You have to, and that's again is kind of on the parents and the coaches of these athletes is they need the support, they need the response and feedback to how they play. And that's where someone like me comes in, or guidance and management firms come in, is they give them a reality check. And I love that part of it, is either saying, hey, you got to calm down, or hey, like, I need you to step it up a notch. And it's really sad when you see these athletes just not value themselves. Like, I'm not even talking about as a person. I'm talking about as purely as an athlete. When they just think like, I'm decent, but there's no shot. That's like a horrible mindset to have. So those two are huge mistakes that I would say need to be addressed by all athletes at as young age as possible if they want a chance of going college and then, pro in the future.
Yeah. So how do you help athletes specifically, or I guess your clients, beyond their performance?
Yeah, that's another great question. It's beyond the performance, it's all about making them likable. Really, that if you boil it down to that, it's who can they appeal to? And we already briefly talked about NIL with college athletes. That's a big deal about making them likable. But even for high school athletes and professional athletes, if you're good, but if the fans don't really like you as a person, that's a problem. And that can lead to your downfall initially, and in the end. So what I'm trying to do is I don't go out there and coach them. I'm not going out there and telling them what they need to do as an athlete on the field to be better. I'm trying to tell them what they need to do off the field to be better. And whether that's getting in connection with local brands, local businesses, whether that just be like a small pop-up coffee shop, something like that. Because what that then leads to is, if you get in connection with a coffee shop, which is local to where you're from, you get a deal. Suddenly a news reporter sees it, writes it in the daily article for your little town, and suddenly you've just gained however many 100 new eyes to who you are. So there's all these small little steps that you can take, and it's not very challenging to at least put yourself out there. And that's what I'm trying to do, is just make sure people are aware that off the field, off the court, off the rink, whatever it is, these people are people at the end of the day. They're not just athletes, they're like you and me. And they're good people too.
Yeah. So why should athletes come to your firm versus another competitor or just completely different firm? Like, what makes you stand out?
Well, I think it's because I've lived through the journey that I'm trying to help people right now. I've lived through the flaws of this field. And because when I was playing, I didn't have the support that I'm now trying to give people. So I know where I need to adapt to better suit and better help these athletes. And at the same time, right now, I'm not gaining anything financially from this. I'm not charging people for the support. I do believe that helping them is as big a reward as I need. So if there are athletes out there that think they're good enough, because at the same time, I really it sounds a little cruel, but that is the harsh reality of this sports world. Is I'm not trying to work with people that want to limit themselves to just playing college and that's it. The people need to have the mentality of, I'm good enough to be professional. I'm gonna put the work in, and that's who I want to work with. Because if you have that mentality, and then I have the mentality that I'm gonna back you 100%, that's a direct route to success. So I think that's one of the many reasons why athletes should work with me. Also, the fact that I'm working with around 8 athletes right now, and I would say all 8 of them, well, one of them's already playing professionally, but so 7 out of the 8 have a very, very real shot of going pro in the couple coming years. So I also think that's it's a great reason because I believe in at least some small way I've helped them get there. So yeah, there's many reasons, and if they came to me and we didn't seem like a great fit, I'm not going to try to force it. I've always been that type of guy to just say things as they are. So if you're someone who likes someone who says like no BS and just says it straight to your face, then I think would be a great fit. If not, no harm, no foul. But yeah,
First of all, congratulations. That's huge. All of
thank you.
that 8 athletes, that's a lot. How do you plan to grow while staying true to your values and the foundation you've built?
Yeah, I actually think the way I'm going to grow is by staying true to my values. I think once I start to try to adapt in ways that I can't, that's when I start to fail, and that's when collegiate sports management won't go where I want it to. Um, I've come to the realization that I have to be who I know I can be. I shouldn't push myself to someone that I know I can't, because that will not only hurt my work, that'll hurt the athletes, and that will go down a whole different path of just regret for all of us. So I think the fact that like I've said numerous times, the fact that I've lived through these experiences, is a great way for me to know what gets these athletes to where they need to be. So just being true to what I know and what I can know is what I think will get collegiate sports management to the next level.
Yeah. So, what impact do you ultimately want your clients and athletes to feel from working with you?
Well, I wish I could say that we're just great friends, but at the end of the day, that's not what this is about. It is about getting these athletes to go professional and just to get where they want to be. So, number one, first and foremost, I'm trying to get these athletes um, to the level that they want to be. And I want them to at least look back and in some aspect of it say, yeah, he helped me. He helped me in, some minuscule way get me to where I am. So that's what I'm hoping. Second to that, I'd love to get these lifelong friendships with these athletes because, like I said, I'm a huge family guy. I love being with my friends. So getting connections outside of the game is big for me. But I'm not going to lie and say that's what I'm really here for. I'm here to see these athletes succeed, and I want them to succeed, and I want them to look back and again, like I said, say that in some way, as small as it may have been, I may have helped their journey.
Yeah, and that must feel really rewarding, and I'm sure it will happen. What advice would you give to students or athletes who want to build something meaningful but feel kind of intimidated or unmotivated by the process to get there?
I would say, I mean, it's so broad, but I would say just go for it. There's no downside to starting something like this. Of course, like I said, I've had experience and I've had connections which have greatly helped my launching of collegiate sports management. But if you're someone in high school who's thinking about this, you're someone in college or someone who's even graduated college and you're thinking about doing something like this, there's no harm in just starting it. There's no harm in cold calling athletes. You can find them all over these different websites. There's no harm in going to college soccer games, college football games, even high school like baseball games, and reaching out to these athletes afterward and saying you want to help them. There's no harm in that. I mean, you will probably get rejected 99% of the time. I've dealt with that myself. It sucks, but if you want to get to some level of success, you have to start somewhere, and you have to have the belief in yourself to back yourself. So yeah, just go for it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but there's no harm in trying, right?
Yeah, I love that. So my last question for you is what matters most to you, the destination, the journey, or the company?
Well, as a person, I think just purely as a person, I would say the journey in the company. Um, but since collegiate sports management has started and I've been working with these athletes, like I said, it's all about the destination. It doesn't really matter how you get there as long as you get to where you need to go. Um, yes, so professionally speaking, it has to be about the goal, the end goal, the destination. That's what it's all about. Um, outside of being a professional, I love being a part of someone's journey. So they're all important things. I'm not going to rank them, one to three or whatnot, um, because I don't think it's fair to it. You talk to someone else in this field, they're probably going to say something else, right? There's no one right answer. But for me, trying to see these athletes get to where they want to go, it has to be all about the destination.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the Mental Playbook. To my listeners, mind strong, game on.